Think about what you did.
Nobody makes it to the end of these things. Come on.
The Broken Agenda Podcast. Sponsored by Laughing Rock Technology.
Who's coming with me? Like one skinny dude in glass at the other end of the table is like, yeah. And I'm like, that's my guy. Nice job, Andrew. His name's always Andrew. I don't know why. So
It's a universal name.
it is a universal name. So anyway, what are we talking about today? We're talking about right to repair, aren't we?
Magnuson Moss.
Hey, before we get into right to repair, which I think is interesting. Oh, you hadn't started the timer yet?
No, it's on now.
Oh man.
Well, we weren't talking about anything.
That's the show.
I guess it is.
That's
but
literally the entire show. You gotta take 10 minutes off that timer. It's gonna be a long one. Hey, before we get into the topic at hand. Oh, and I'm not doing intros anymore.
that's fine.
Yeah,
that works.
It just seems lame when I
Not
do
doing the intro.
Nah, the intro's lame.
They should know us by now.
If they don't know us by now, they don't belong here.
Yeah, nobody makes it to the end of these anyways.
No, all 11 of our viewers should know us by now.
Yeah.
So, you guys see Tom Brady's coming back?
How stupid is that?
Oh, the guy that bought his football's really mad.
Yeah, $500,000.
He thought it was his last football.
Did that come up last time we were here?
No.
Somebody, I just had
That
that
just happened
conversation
the
with
other day.
somebody.
Yeah.
So wait, so I want to hear your take on this because you seem genuinely kind of irritated.
I mean, I don't really care, but like, just give it up. You have enough.
You can't throw a going
You
away.
have enough. What does
Give
that mean?
enough.
You can't throw a going away party and then come back. That's kind of lame. And sell a football for $5 million for your last touchdown pass football.
Was that how
Was
much?
it?
Then
it was?
come
$5
back.
million?
500,000.
500,000.
Wow.
Yeah, that's chunk
That's still all.
It's the same thing.
I mean, that's
Same
one round
thing.
of craps for you, Jimmy.
Imagine how mad that guy. I'd be like so mad if I
Wait,
paid
so-
$500,000 for the last touchdown football.
So both of you were mad the GOAT's coming back.
I'm not mad, but I think the guy that bought the football's mad.
I bet that guy's pissed as heck.
I'd be royally pissed if I bought the football.
Did he sign the ball for him?
I don't know.
Like, I would literally call Tom Brady's agent and be like, you owe me at least a signature on this thing.
Yeah, I would be like, hey, that's a lawsuit, I would imagine.
I bet it could be.
I'll bet it is.
You can actually show losses. I mean, he
Yeah.
misrepresented the product.
Yeah.
In fact, I bet if he sued, he'd probably win.
I bet he
He'd
would.
probably win like $30 million and still get to keep the ball.
Yeah.
Or he could just get VIP passes.
I would settle for VIP passes for the entire season. I would absolutely do it. I don't know.
Yeah, for the season. Hey, that's pretty good.
Absolutely. But
I want on the sideline, dude.
I want the seat
On
that
the
Tom
sideline.
Brady would have sat in if he had been retired. That seat right next to the owner where the camera goes to at least 5 times a game. I want that seat. I want the owner to personally know my aftershave by the end of the season.
And I want to be invited to the team picnics.
Yes. Yeah. Picnics. Jesus. I didn't even know they had picnics. I just got a mental image of Gronk eating a finger sandwich.
You think they call him something different?
Like a cucumber sandwich. Like,
They might call him something
Probably
different.
just like team dinners. It's not like high school.
I mean, they're all millionaires. It's probably like a team banquet.
Yeah, exactly.
Like-
Feast.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the birthday parties. And the family birthday parties.
I'm a little shocked at how your response is not. I think my response is the abnormal one. People are genuinely pissed the GOAT's coming back.
Why are they mad?
I'm not 100% sure. I think they just. I don't know. Why are they mad, Tyler? You seem more mad than me.
I mean, I'm not really mad. I don't really care, but I think it's because they felt like their team had a chance now.
Oh.
That's probably more what it is.
All right, I can see that. I mean, but the thing with him, though, is 44. Is that how old he is now?
I think so, yeah.
I mean, I kind of just want to see how long he can do it. I mean,
Yeah, but see, I feel like he's going to he could potentially tarnish his legacy. I mean,
Yeah,
he's
he
going to
could.
always have that, but
What if he came back and had a horrible year?
well, yeah, but how do you tarnish his legacy? He's got 7 Super Bowl
If
rings.
he had a
Jordan
horrible year, everybody like douchebag.
Michael Jordan did. They still
Should've
sell
stayed away.
Air Jordans,
well,
and the
yeah,
guy's
they
like
do.
70.
But I mean, you remember when he came back as number 45 and then went to the Wizards or Bullets at the time?
Yeah, well, and then he left, and he's like, "Now I'm sure."
Nobody
And
talks about
We
that.
were
people-
like, "That's okay, champ. We all still love you," and
Yeah.
everybody applauded. They were like, "Good try." We all want to try.
But there's probably a whole pack of people that said, the haters.
There's always gonna be haters.
Yeah.
I don't know. I still think he's the GOAT.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
I wonder what was going through his mind. What happened? And when
He was at home with his kids
He
for
was
2
at home
months.
and he's like,
It's like, oh, I can't do this.
2 months of getting up and getting them ready for school.
he's got no other hobby. That's his problem.
It might be. Well, the problem, he's not going to be able to be a coach. I mean, that guy, because he's not the fastest, he's not the most athletic, he's not the best arm. Like it's not like there's physical things that are going on with Tom Brady that make him exceptional compared to other people.
He's got a nice smile.
He has a gorgeous smile. He's a beautiful man. He's a dreamboat. So he's got a supermodel wife, check in his favor. But arm, I mean, Elway would smoke him in the arm department, or just about. I mean, there's a lot of quarterbacks in the league right now that throw a ton harder than Brady ever did.
Yeah, but what made him so good then?
You know what? The best I ever heard it compared, I heard somebody talking about this the other day, and they said Gretzky was the same way. They said Gretzky was not the best shooter. Gretzky was not the best defensive end. Gretzky was not the best today. That you could find a number of people that are better than him at everything.
He was a great fighter, though, wasn't he?
I don't know about that, but what they said was he had an innate ability. Gretzky's saying was, you don't go where the puck is, you go where the puck's going to be. That's a classic Gretzkyism.
Yep.
He had an innate ability to play hockey that you can't teach. And I think that's what Tom Brady is.
The instinct.
I think Tom Brady has an innate talent for football that is probably unteachable, which is why I think he would be probably a terrible coach. I mean, he might be a great general coach because he knows a lot of plays, he knows a lot of strategy and everything else, but I don't think he could teach quarterbacks. I mean, he doesn't, he just does it. He just does quarterbacking.
Yeah, maybe OC. Probably be an offensive coordinator.
I could see that. But you can make Tom Brady your offensive coordinator. I mean, he's going to be a GM. I mean, Tom Brady's going to demand it.
Why didn't he just do commercials?
What's that?
He could have just done
He already
commercials.
does that.
He's already worth like $800 million. Like
He could do a football movie.
at this point, money I don't think is really the
He
object.
could do.
White
He could
makes
do it. He
$100
could have done
million
a.
year.
Could have done
This is a dude who did not expect to get drafted.
Yeah,
And now he's-
199th, right?
Yeah,
In 2000?
and he had his resume sent out already because there was just no expectations or whatever.
And he was ready to start bagging groceries like Kurt.
Why do I keep saying Russell?
I wanted to say that too, Kurt.
Yeah.
So he barely.
Russell, no.
He barely. He
Now I'm
goes
stuck on
from
Russell.
barely making it in. So he barely made it in the NFL. Becomes a total legend.
Yep.
Retires, and then he's like, "Oh,
Retires for 2 months.
they don't want me for groceries."
And then says the real world sucks.
Yeah, the grocery store like wouldn't hire him. He's like, "I got nothing else."
They're
to
like,
do."
you might be slightly overqualified.
Yeah. We're not going to let you bag groceries. You keep throwing the meat.
They could let him pass toilet paper rolls up from the
Yeah,
back.
you keep throwing meat down the aisle, dude. You can't work here no more.
Meat. It'll just pork.
Yeah. Imagine every
Reminds
time
me
a
of pig
football-sized slab of meat lands on the counter, and you're like,
Always
Tom
exactly
Brady.
where it's supposed to be.
Yeah, you're like, it's like a
on
natural reaction. He probably picks that up and.
He's whipping change at customers.
It was Kurt
I don't
Warner.
know.
Warner, thank you.
Yeah.
This,
I can remember the buzz cut.
who is Kurt Warner?
Yeah.
Didn't they make a movie about him?
I don't know.
I think they did.
Probably.
But I think it didn't go anywhere because it was like a Christian movie.
Yeah, because he's ultra Christian.
Yeah, he's very, very. Not that there's anything wrong with
No,
that, but
but yeah.
I'm pretty sure it got lumped in with the Jesus movies and kind of vanished into the ether. I bet it was a good movie though. His story's actually pretty cool.
Who's Kurt
Yeah.
Warner?
Kurt
It was
Warner
the-
he won a Super Bowl with Arizona, I think it was.
It was with Arizona.
Yeah,
when he
with
won it.
Arizona, and he was literally not in the league. He was bagging groceries.
Yep.
That's why I said yeah. And they picked him up as a free agent.
Didn't St. Louis pick him up first? Because he was with them for a while.
Yes.
The Rams.
I think it was the Rams first, and then they went to Arizona. They picked him up as a free agent, and just they needed somebody, and he was at the grocery store, and they're like, "Hey, you clerk, you want to play professional football?" And he's like, "Yeah, I got nothing else to do."
Why clock out at 4?
Yeah, so he went. They say he was one of the hardest working guys in the history of the NFL, and he came in and just threw himself into it, and ended up becoming starting quarterback, and then ended up winning a Super Bowl.
Well, imagine if you get pulled off the grocery line to play football. You're gonna like give it your all.
Yeah, you're gonna be hungry.
In spite of the fact that you came from the grocery store.
It's if I screw up this pass, I got to go back to bagging groceries. Like every time, that's what you think. That's got to wear on you. That's got to get old. My father-in-law tried out for the Bills.
Did he?
Yeah, he made final cut. And the funny part is he was 6'7", 350 pounds when he tried out. Now he's like 6'4". He's
Shrinking.
up a little bit. There's a lot of man. Gravity means more to him. And he didn't make it at the time, but he was so close. He almost made the cut for the Bills. And now they wouldn't even look at him because he's too small.
Too small.
Isn't that crazy?
It is nuts. Yeah, because my neighbor growing up was on New Orleans.
Okay.
He had made the practice squad for a bit, but he's probably my size.
What?
Yeah, maybe a
position?
little bit taller. Offensive line.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now they eat guys like us for lunch.
yeah,
Like,
exactly.
literally, not even like figuratively. Like they cook people up, feed them.
Yeah, I met one of my jobs. I met a couple guys who played for like the Baltimore Colts. They were like safeties, and their hands were like,
Isn't it wild?
it's nuts how big they are.
I met Runyon at a bar once.
Yeah.
He's not even human. Like he didn't fit through the door into the bathroom.
Yeah.
Like they had to,
Absurd.
like they had to soap him up and pop him through with a crowbar. Like he's like sideways.
Get
like
the
his shoulder
Crisco.
ducking
Get the
his head.
Crisco.
He was like what 6'9"?
Yeah.
6'9", 6'10", and he was pushing 400 pounds at one point, and he was fat. I mean, come on, but he wasn't fat.
Yeah.
He was
thick.
just a giant lump of human. And nicest freaking dude.
Yeah.
Like it was just a normal bar. He just kind of wandered in because he wanted to get a drink. And then John Runyon's standing around, the most famous lineman of all time. Like nowhere else in the world.
I think if I was famous, that's what I'd do. I'd pop into these just off the wall places.
I think you say that,
And then you don't do it.
and then
Think you
and
get
then, Then
bombarded?
the mob bombards you. Yeah.
You think
and,
so?
And then you're like, God, the last thing I want to do.
But
is
couldn't you just be like, no, dude, I'm not that dude.
just deny you're John Runyon.
It's not me, dude.
No, it's some other 6'9",
Yeah,
400 pound
I
guy
get that all the time.
with hands the size of a television. Like, no, it's not me.
You'd think it was, but really, no, it's just not.
All right, anyway, sorry. I just wanted to bring up the GOAT because I'm excited he's coming back. I think he's going to win another Super Bowl. Just kidding. I'm a Green Bay fan. And I think this is also Aaron Rodgers' last season. And
Yeah.
I really would like to see him get one more ring. Just saying. I love A-Rod. All right, anyway, so what are we talking about today? Right to repair, right? Right to fix.
Yeah.
Right to repair. Which is the right term?
Right to repair is what it's commonly known as.
That's the legislative term that they're
Yeah.
using? Okay. So this one, I got to be honest, pisses me off. I mean, and this has been happening for years, but what drives me crazy is you can't even, like, I mean, do you know what right to repair is?
Well, yeah, like they're forcing you to use. I mean, it's in many industries, right?
Yeah.
Like you're not allowed to. You can't fix stuff because you got to take it to a certified specialist, certified company. You can't fix, cars is the biggest thing, I guess.
There's no such thing as aftermarket parts,
Yeah,
that kind of stuff.
which
Well, I mean, look at cars. Cars are the worst.
that's corporate America just eating everything up.
Well,
it's not just happening in cars; it's happening in things that people aren't thinking about most. Like Google is a never-ending gob-stopping monster. Right?
Gobstopping.
He's a gobstopper.
Right, Willy
That's a
Wonka.
good word.
Everlasting.
The schnozberries taste like schnozberries. So, well, why do you say Google? Because they're phones?
Well, because they're eating everything.
Well, yeah, I mean, yeah, that might be a different conversation, but yes,
Yeah.
they are. They're definitely eating everything. No, but I mean, that's a good point. Samsung. I mean, you can't do anything on Samsungs anymore.
I mean, Apple's probably the best example of it.
Oh,
they
they
basically
invented it.
started it, yeah.
Yeah, they really did. Well, you've seen a lot of pushback. So what was it, like 3-4 years ago? Toshiba Telecom went out of business because open source telecom said we're going to do the exact opposite.
Yeah.
And Toshiba was completely closed. Like you couldn't do anything on a Toshiba phone system without having an active certified Toshiba engineer agreement in place. And they would restrict who could get those. So you couldn't just get one. It's like you could take a test and become one. Like they would open up opportunities to be one every like 5 years. I mean, it was crazy. And then finally they died. But they would charge like, if you wanted to get a new phone, they charge like $800
Yeah.
for like a $20 phone. Because they could, because you couldn't buy them anywhere else.
Somehow we got to get our way back to like where you have like general parts that all kinds of manufacturers could manufacture. Like that used to be how it was.
Well, you know what drives me crazy is appliances.
Yeah,
So
that's a big one.
I hate waste. And to think that if my washing machine is 7 years old and something minor breaks on it, they're going to tell me, hey, just get a new one.
Gotta get a new one, yeah.
Yeah.
That's
they won't
horrible.
They won't even fix it.
It's just like
It's consumable now.
Yes.
Hard goods that are consumable.
But where's that thing going?
Well, yeah, that's the thing. Like, I remember...
let's
wasn't-
just throw them all away. I mean,
I imagine that. I mean, I know they probably recycle some parts, right? But most of it, they just toss
It's
it
probably going to get scrapped, if anything. Pull out the precious metal that they can and
and throw the rest in the landfill.
put it in the landfill, yeah.
yeah,
So-
that doesn't get any precious metal. They take that and throw it in scrap steel, melt it down, and you come out with this bastard metal. And then,
I know you didn't mean it like that, but it sounded angry when you said it.
well, it is
Bastard metal.
Bastard metal.
Well, and I was reading because I was curious.
Bastardized.
As I'm reading about this, because a big part of this movement is ecology of it, right? Like the environmental impact of throwing all this stuff away instead of fixing it and continuing to use it. And I was like, well, how much energy does it take to make metal versus to recycle metal? And generally speaking, it takes more to recycle than it does. So, if nothing else, I mean, yeah, it's irritating for a consumer, but it's terrible for the environment. Assuming you even recycle, you're not recycling the plastic. That stuff's ending up in they feed it to fish.
Yeah.
Yeah, feed it to dolphins.
Yeah.
Like, force it down their gullets.
Yeah, but I mean, because it's $300 to repair a stove. It's $125 just to get a guy out to repair a stove.
Yep.
I've repaired stoves in rental properties.
Yeah.
And that's like, okay, but I don't know how we got to a point where that has become, and you don't want to take away the value from the repair person, but even just to get parts for things.
Yeah.
Getting parts for things to fix it is ridiculous. It's like a $200. How can you build a stove for $600 and then you go to buy a part for it and it's $200?
Well, and that's kind of where they get. What was it? I just bought last year, literally a year ago. We got a new fridge, a new stove, a new microwave. 2 months later, the light bulb in the fridge burned out. It's an LED light bulb.
Get a new one.
Yeah, when I went to ask the people we bought it from, they're like, yeah, it's a $35 light bulb.
What?
I'm like, a $35 light bulb? I said, I'll find my own light bulb.
Right.
Yeah, I bought it from Japan or something like that. It's because they use a European or Asian sizing. So I just bought a bunch of them. And they were like $4 a piece at the most. But they're like, yeah, it'll cost you $35 for this small little LED light bulb.
See, that's infuriating.
Well, that's what I just laughed at. I'm like, yeah, no.
It's almost like a criminal act.
It's
It is disturbing.
Because when you think about people are throwing away their stove or over a light bulb.
Mm-hmm.
And some people probably now.
Because then what's going to be next? So what now? I got to replace
wasn't that covered in
3 or 4 things. You figure it's going to be $300-400 till you in no time. One more breakdown till you get somebody out 2 or 3 times. You could have bought a new stove.
No,
that becomes the mentality that then people just don't want to even fix things.
Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say. No, I forget what I was gonna say. I think something along the lines of you have a lot. We would be more of. They tell us it's a $35 light bulb. We're gonna say no. We'll go find our own light bulb. We'll figure out the sizing and do all that stuff. But you're gonna have most people who are like, okay, just give me 2 of them so I have an extra. And that's what most people are gonna do. Not a lot of people are very initiative driven.
And then I would say
maybe they don't prioritize that.
They don't prioritize that.
I mean,
right?
time is very valuable. A lot of people just fix the freaking fridge. I
just
need to be able
get
to
it
see
done.
my food. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Then they'll be like, man, if I buy this light bulb, replace it twice, and then something else goes wrong, and you start to run your math and run your numbers.
No, you're right. And
And
you
people-
said something earlier that maybe I kind of want to dig into is how did we get here? It was only 2 generations ago that they fixed and reused everything.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, 2 generations for us, maybe 3 for our kids, but
Yeah.
maybe 2 for them too. Though I mean, you and I fix a lot of stuff. You fix a lot of stuff. So it's not like that mentality is dead. I mean, I know I've got my refrigerator and my freezer are both 30 years old. Now they're sub-zeros, and a replacement fridge and freezer would be over $10,000 a piece. But theoretically, they will never go bad.
Right.
And I've replaced the compressor. I've replaced a fan on the inside. I've replaced some trays in it and everything else, stuff that went bad over the years. But I'm redoing my kitchen. I'm not replacing the fridge and the freezer because I know they probably have another 30 years in them. And they work phenomenal. But those are expensive to buy. And you have to assume you're going to want them for a long time. And I'm kind of thinking that 2 things are an obstacle to people going back to that mentality. One is they don't want to pay the upfront cost. Why buy an $8,000 fridge when you can buy an $800 fridge or even a $2,000 fridge and save that money and put it into something else? And 2, I think features. My fridge doesn't have any features.
Mine doesn't either.
It doesn't connect to Wi-Fi. It doesn't, it doesn't,
There's no TV on your
there's
fridge.
no TV on it. No, I mean, it's no LED bulbs.
How can you
It's not
live?
gonna
How can
break.
you live without a TV on your fridge?
Apparently, I'm getting by, but I'm living a pretty low standard of living. without that
Sounds
fridge
it
TV.
sounds that way.
I know. I don't even have cable, so I don't even know what I'd play on my TV. But I love that fridge, and I don't have any intention of getting rid of it. But I don't think a lot of people think that way.
When I heard it explained, because I always wondered, growing up, my parents had the same refrigerator from when they bought the house in 1982.
Okay.
They had it until early 2000s, until it finally died.
So it made it like 20 years.
Yeah.
That's a good life for a fridge.
I think I was either out of school already, like in college, but they replaced it. And since then, they've replaced their fridge 3 times.
Whoa.
So that's within 15 years, so every 5 to 6 years. But I heard, I wondered, well, they don't build stuff like they used to, which is partially true.
It is.
Because they're making, but the other side of it is, back when you bought a fridge in the 80s, the 70s, 80s, you were putting a big percentage of your disposable income towards that, right?
Yes.
You were paying a lot of money for it. So what we buy for $500-$600 today, even though back then it was $500-$600, that was a $2,000-$3,000 fridge, kind of in comparison. So you were buying something that was better built at the time. So we're kind of, most people are like, even when we did our shopping, I had a budget in mind, and I did not want to go over that. So I found a way to fit that, knowing that probably in 10 years, if I'm lucky, I'll be replacing my fridge again.
Now, do you think this has part of it too? This right to repair? Because I know those Sub-Zeros I have are made to be repaired. So there is literally in the front at the bottom, there's an entire door that opens up,
pull it off.
and everything is there. And when I pulled that compressor out, it was remove 2 tubes, unhook a power line. That was designed to be unhooked. It wasn't like it was difficult to do.
Yeah.
Remove a couple of bolts, and the whole compressor came right out. Like it was literally designed when the compressor goes, your fridge is fine. Pull the compressor up, put a new compressor in, and just keep fridging. But if I go to my fridge in the garage, I mean, you pull that back panel off, I don't know what's going on there.
Yeah, and see, I wish I would have been there when they brought the fridge, because our old fridge was from 92, so it had survived almost 30 years. We replaced it in 21, so.
Damn.
And you could open that, and I could probably figure out how to get the compressor out and all that stuff. It was just pretty easy access. I wish I would have paid attention when I was installing the ice maker and how simple, I don't think it was as simple as that 30-year-old fridge. I felt like it was a bit more complex. I installed the ice maker because they didn't have it, and I didn't want to pay them to come back.
So you put your own ice maker in?
Yeah, they had to order it in because all the stupid delays that we have right now. So I just told them, just give it to me, I'll put it in, I'll install it.
Okay.
Which that wasn't too hard, but all of that stuff was pretty accessible.
Okay, gotcha.
But I feel like getting to the compressor would have been a pain, like this much gap versus the old fridge that was like this.
Well, and the other thing is the newer ones, it's all plastic in there.
Yeah, it's complete plastic.
You make one wrong move and you just shattered the mounting bracket. Mm-hmm. And now there's no place, zip tie it in place. I mean, it's the compressor. It moves, it shakes, it hums. Whereas the older stuff, that's all metal. Mm-hmm. I mean, you're breaking your hand before you're breaking that bar.
Yep.
So I don't know. I mean, I think there's a legitimate argument to be made that what we're talking about here as a topic is definitely a big part of why we've become so consumable on products. And if it's all plastic made to break or hard to work on because they're discouraging repair, then you're not going to repair it. I mean,
yeah, no, you're absolutely right.
Well, I had an experience. We bought a Kirby vacuum cleaner. We bought it when we lived in Texas, so it's probably a Kirby.
A Kirby, okay.
Yeah, it comes with a sprayer. You can paint with it.
Really?
Yeah, you can reverse your hose, and you can put paint in the sprayer and paint with it. So it has all these different attachments. It's an upright vacuum.
I just have a cyst hose or a cyst vacuum.
What?
It's not.
Oh.
Yeah. So
it's not a trans vacuum.
It's not a trans vacuum.
Is it too soon? Is it?
I think it's really
Too soon.
No, that just was kind of dumb.
I just wanted to say cis. Sorry. Go ahead.
It's
Sorry.
got one purpose.
I've been sitting on that joke for weeks. Finally, Jimmy brought up vacuums. It took a while to get to. Go ahead. Kirby vacuum. Reversible hose.
We'll try it again.
Innie in and outie.
Another time.
Wait, what are you laughing so hard for?
I don't
It was a
know.
terrible joke by your own voice. You said it, not me. I said the joke. Go ahead, Kirby vacuum. Sorry.
So we spent, I think it was about $2,500 or $3,000 on that Kirby vacuum.
Wow, that's a lot of money for a vacuum.
Yeah, and we had it we probably had it we had it probably 15 or 16 years, and then it stopped working. And then they had a program where you could send it to them and they'd rebuild it. $350.
That's
So I'm
not bad for a $3,000.
I'm like, I'm gonna send it down there, get it rebuilt. Send it to them, rebuild it. They send it back to me. About 4 months later, the vacuum broke down.
Ooh.
So now I'm like, so I called them back and I'm like, okay, so you just rebuilt it, a couple months ago, and it's like our secondary vacuum. So we have a Rainbow, and we have the Kirby. The Rainbow was given to us, and then, which is another good vacuum cleaner if you're a vacuum cleaner people.
Rainbow.
Yeah.
Okay, Rainbow is a water style. Kirby has like electrostatic or electromagnetic design in their bags, so that when you vacuum with them, the dust particles, there's some kind of static process going on inside the bagging, so nothing gets out of it.
Okay.
But it's a really nice vacuum. I mean, we like, and then the Rainbows have a water trap that you put the water trap in, and then everything goes into the water, and so you have to dump the water every time.
Like a bong?
Exactly.
So you vacuum with a bong?
You vacuum with a bong.
That sounds awesome.
And all the water and all the dust and everything goes into the water. So
I'm going to get one of your
But
Rainbow bongs.
they're both, they're really good vacuum cleaners. They're rebuildable. You can get all the parts, the manufacturer. Now they still are coming out with generations, so they're still making past generations obsolete. And to me, what I think's they're moving on to, they're taking on the same characteristics of big box store products. They're starting to just get crappier and crappier parts, and now here I have this 16-year-old vacuum cleaner, supposedly rebuildable, and 4 months after they rebuild it,
because they probably put cheap parts in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So now it's like,
See, I'm going the opposite direction. I'm buying Sub-Zero, Wolf. Like, I'm getting the good stuff because I don't care about the features. I want something that's not. I want something that's going to last.
That lasts, yeah.
well, I thought we had something that would last, right? So now it's like, now they said to me, okay, well, we're the rebuild, so do you want to rebuild it again? Oh, so I have to pay another $350? Then I have to, so I can either take it to a repair
See,
center,
that would piss me off.
which is 2.5 hours away, or pay them $350 to ship it back.
But you
again.
couldn't take it to like your local vacuum place.
No.
See, that's
That's
right
where
to
it kind
repair.
of, that's right to repair.
So that's where I'd
Yeah.
want to say I'm just going to take it to A to Z Vacuum and let them fix it,
Yeah.
and then plug for A to Z Vacuum, and then
So it's better for me now just to so like, why would I even send it back to them anymore?
I wouldn't for $350.
Why would, I wouldn't even send it back to them again.
Well, why wouldn't they
They've completely
guarantee the
lost my
repairs?
they've completely lost my confidence now.
Yeah.
So now I'm going to order my own freaking parts, and I'll try to fix it myself. And I can go through the laundry list of parts replacing garbage parts now that they're putting out, and
I was seeing you're going to run into the situation where you're buying the parts that they're going to use. So it's going to be garbage parts.
yeah. So
Regardless.
basically, it doesn't matter that I bought a good product.
I got a buddy that buys the product that he always finds the product he has when he has good stuff. He just finds the entire product somebody's selling on like eBay or something, buys the
Takes
whole thing,
parts from
and
it.
then he just scavenges what he needs, and then
Yep.
he just throws the rest out or sells the rest as a spare part pile. And he's like, that's the best result I've ever had. He goes, because as long as you get it and it's dated beyond a certain date, you know it's going to be compatible parts and it's going to be the right stuff. So I don't know. I always kind of questioned that mentality because you're buying used parts. But now that I'm hearing your story, used parts are probably better than crappy plastic parts.
Yeah.
Did you ever take apart a Roomba?
No.
What's a Roomba?
Like those
Robot
robotic
ones.
vacuums
Oh,
that just kind of they wander around and always, no matter where you go, they aim for your feet.
really?
Yeah, they're annoying as heck, but they work. They're fine. But if you take one apart, because I did some service on mine a couple of months ago, there's not a single piece of metal in that thing. I think even
Well,
the
that's-
screws are plastic.
That's what they say about Dyson. The Dyson vacuums.
Those things are junk.
They say that they are some of the best engineered vacuums, but then they just assemble them in plastic and it just breaks. So you'll spend $700
So if they
on like
got
one of them fancy ball ones, and
Yep.
then a year later you're buying another one.
so if you
get
could
it.
start manufacturing in metal again, we're not manufacturing with metal.
Problem is your cost would be too high. and your sell price would be too high, that everyone's still buying.
Yeah, but the problem is somebody who's willing to spend $700 on a vacuum
But when are we gonna?
would be willing to spend $1,000.
I say I spent $800 on ours.
Yeah,
because
I
I
mean-
wanted the brand because it was a good brand. And
Now I don't. For a vacuum, I bought a disposable vacuum. I bought a $150 Hoover,
yeah,
and I was like, when it dies, it dies. And it was like Rocky IV. I never thought twice about that. I mean, it never occurred to me to spend $3,000 on a vacuum. But now that you're talking, I guess it does make a lot of sense. It just never crossed my mind.
The vacuums are great vacuums. I mean, I don't, I don't really know. Like we haven't been through cycling through vacuums because we've always had that vacuum. And then the Rainbow was given to us, and I mean, never not used a quality vacuum cleaner.
See, I wouldn't know. I assume
I had a
somebody
Dirt
vacuums in our
Devil
house, but I'm
way back in
100%
the
sure
day.
it's not me. So whoever vacuums should really get a good vacuum.
Yeah.
So, all right, why don't we take 5 there? We'll go over, cut to some sort of commercial or something, and then we'll come back and talk more about.
vacuums.
Nonsense.
God, I hope we're done with vacuums because vacuums are stupid.
Well,
We'll be right back.
Well, what
Here's
happened?
what I would love to go ahead.
What happened back in the day when? I mean, look at how houses were built. Look what they come from. I mean, do we have neighborhoods and houses now that are going to be throwaway houses? We literally have developments of houses that
Well, wait.
that are.
Do you really stand by that statement? Because the building code, I think, is probably the most restrictive thing we have going on from manufacturing.
Really? So we went from building structures with stone and masonry to building with wood and
what time periods are you comparing?
vinyl siding.
Now, if you're
And
comparing,
that's a building code
If you're comparing to
improvement.
if you're comparing to the 1800s, that thing will last longer. Have you ever had to deal with a house made in that time frame?
I would say there's a lot of shit you got to get over.
They're a modern day nightmare.
Yeah.
I mean, the walls are solid stone. You're not fishing any new wires in those walls. I mean, they were made before wires. I mean, you give to get, but I don't think our building code is that bad. Now, wood frame obviously is not going to last as long as masonry. There's no doubt.
I've built houses with styrofoam. We framed the houses. The entire exterior wall had 16 inches of wood coming off of each corner, and the rest of the wall was styrofoam covered with vinyl siding.
Okay.
I could take you to neighborhoods. I could cut a hole through the wall with a box cutter.
Well, you can do that in a modern house with drywall.
Well, that's what I'm saying. There's entire neighborhoods that have been built like this. These houses are not going to last. They're gonna get to the point where they're. I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen at some point in time, but I just don't see them.
Well, I mean, you're talking about a couple of different things here. So the maintenance-free design with the flexibility of a modern-day house requires some minimal upkeep. If your siding's going bad, you have to replace it. If you start allowing the parts, so there's layers. They're built in layers. And quite honestly, I love this argument. So I spent 10 years working in the building industry, designing houses, working with customers, working on projects. And regularly I would get the question, how is this house secure? I can literally take a box cutter and cut my way from the outside of the house into the inside of the house. Or maybe not a box cutter, but yeah, because they would have they would have plywood. But I can take, a chainsaw and cut my way into the house.
Well, that's an improvement.
And
that it takes a chainsaw.
So, code requires.
It does now.
Well, yeah, it does now. There was a period there where we made some crappy houses. So we haven't since probably the 90s. But yeah, in the 60s and 70s and 80s, it got a little squirrely. People were doing whatever they wanted. That's why code got so strict. But my stance was always, really? You think somebody's going to stand out there and cut their way into your house with electrical wires and insulation and the time it's going to take and everything else? Or are they just going to throw a rock through your window? Because you're going to hear them either way if you're in the house. Pretty sure they're just going to throw a rock through the window, reach in, unlock the door, and walk right into your house. So there are things where you can envision situations that are a problem that aren't really problems. But I will say that there was a number of houses I saw. I never was involved in building one, but I saw that were built out of 2x4s, and that's a train wreck. I mean, they're just not designed for structural integrity. But I think the current code now is 2x8s
for exterior walls.
For exterior walls for new construction.
2x8.
I think it's 2x8 is code.
Wow.
Or
That's an improvement.
It might be. I think exterior walls have to be either 2x8 or 2x6.
I think 2x6.
Might be 2x6, but I mean, but that's a pretty sturdy. Now, if you've got a brick facade or if you've got a stone facade, you're going to be.
What happens
that.
in 100 years?
Well, in 100 years, it depends. If you keep the house sealed, you keep the siding fixed. If you get holes in it, you replace it. And if you fix any masonry issues on masonry-covered parts of the house, I think they're going to hold up remarkably well. I think if you allow the house to go into disrepair, I think it will crumble so much faster than a stone house. And I think that's going to come down to maintenance. And do you do what needs to be done?
No.
So, unfortunately, to your point, a lot of people don't.
I would say most people probably don't.
So
Just set it, forget it type deal.
But
I know when we were looking for houses, and I wanted to avoid them anyways, but our realtor steered us away from a lot of the, like, I call them the pop-up developments, like where they find a piece of land and then in a year there's 150 houses.
the track homes.
Yeah, I mean, kind of like they're selling them to you for $350,000-$400,000, but they're pinned up with staples and duct tape. But
Well-
he would steer us away because he said you'll get in there and you think you're going to have 20 years of free living, but they're coming out every week because their plumber didn't put the shit together right, or
Well, there is, like any other industry.
you get the
There's-
shitty contractors and developers.
Yeah, you got to watch out for the bad ones. So I was lucky I worked for a good one.
Yeah.
So I took that for granted. But we used to always make fun of Farino.
Yeah.
I mean, because you would see decks that were off kilter on new construction homes. You would see steps that clearly didn't go all the way down to the ground. Like you would see crazy stuff that you should never see in a new construction home because there was no attention to detail, like you said.
And that's like, I know the one development that they put up kind of near where I grew up. I mean, some of those houses were pushing over $500,000, and they're nothing. Like the house I have is built 10,000 times better than those. Like my brother-in-law bought one and then moved into another one a few years later. And he's a carpenter too. He just has people coming out all the time because they didn't put shit together right.
Well, it's fun to see too the buyers. So like you bought your house because it was structurally sound and it was a good solid home.
Yeah.
And then people that are buying that $500,000 house that's stapled together with duct tape is buying it for the look.
Look at the bells
Yeah.
and whistles.
Like
Look at me.
Yeah, look at me. Look at ooh, like this one.
Got the brand new Mercedes with the spinny wheels.
Keeping up with the Joneses. I bought this house almost entirely because the whole thing is 2x8, 2x10.
This is a bunker.
This thing's a bunker. It's 2x10 on the exterior walls, 2x8 on the interior walls, all brick, all masonry, slate roof.
Yeah.
And my daughter was like, because I guess they were learning about nukes in school because of Russia and everything else. And she's like, "Where would we go?" And I was like, "To our basement, and everybody will try to get in." I was like, "This place will survive it, sweetheart." I was like, "We've got a roof made of stone. It's like, if this place doesn't make it, everybody's dead."
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah, it's funny how that kind of plays out. Because my brother he's looking for houses now, and he took my recommendation to go with our realtor. And I guess the realtor was kind of like, your brother took a long fucking time to find his house, but he got exactly what he wanted.
did he?
Yeah,
that's the way to do
what
it.
he said. I mean, it took me 5 years, 6 years almost to
Well,
buy
it
a
should.
house.
I don't understand these
Well,
people that go into the market and a month later they're buying a house.
Well,
I'm
that's
like,
what it was.
Buy the first thing you looked at.
It felt like that way because we'd find a house that we liked. It's like, all right, we'll make an offer, but I'm not giving them full price for it. And then we'd go and someone was $20,000-$30,000 over ask, and I'm like, how do you people negotiate? Like, you're just like, fuck it, I'll just buy it, whatever. I can get the funding. It's like, that's so stupid.
I told you my story when I sold my place, right?
I think so, yeah.
I went in, it was the highest price house in the community before it even was listed. All it was a Facebook post saying this house will go for sale next week.
Yeah.
Within 24 hours, I had $20,000 over list, $50,000 down, no inspection, sight unseen. And I go to my realtor and I was like, well, what do I do? Is there something better? And he goes, don't fall for greedy seller syndrome. He's like, you just got $20,000 over, no inspection, sight unseen. He goes, with $50,000 down, he's like, I think you're done. And I was like, you just want to take the fastest paycheck ever. I was like, you literally didn't even have to fill out paperwork.
It's like so in our development, when we were looking at houses, there were 4 houses available. And we had been looking at this street for a long time, and the house directly beside us was up for sale in like June or July. So we went and looked at it, but when I walked into the living room, I was like, if I had a skateboard, I could ramp up the walls because the foundation had sunk. It's bad. We went in the basement. Obviously, they'd done some like strapping and stuff. Like, it's nothing. I think they ended up selling that for $230, and our neighbors just moved out this summer, and they sold it for like $320,000 or something. I'm like, that damn thing's falling apart.
Wow.
Like, how is this even possible? Just basically first offer they got.
I don't know. Anybody buying real estate right now, I think, is nuts.
I told my brother that too. I was like, I don't jump at the first thing you see.
No, it was like
Give
a
it
crazy
time.
market.
Yeah,
This is maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it's just going to keep going up and up and up. I have no idea, but
I feel
Well,
it's
they
gotta
devalued the
balance.
dollar, so my guess is the real estate sort of just is gonna never go down again.
I don't know. I think as soon as they start raising rates, this real estate market cools real quick.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, there's no penalty right now to
Yeah,
to
I guess,
overbuy.
yeah.
I mean, you can get a $500,000 mortgage for $2,500 a month.
Yeah.
I mean, at that
I think it's going to be
rent costs $2,000
it'll
a
be
month.
temporary
Yeah.
though. It'll be a temporary dip
It might be if they keep devaluing the dollar. Yeah, I mean, it's going to
because
take more dollars
it's
to buy a
basically
house.
hard assets are going to be where
No,
the values are.
You're right. So I keep watching the prices of, like, because I sold the beach house, and I keep watching the prices down there to see if I have to start working on my justifications to my wife. And luckily, we're still the high seller down there.
Yeah.
So at least it cooled down there. But I also think we sold to an association that was buying all the properties, so they're not selling. So
Yeah.
there's just not a lot left to buy. So we might end up being the high sale, but not because value's gone down, just because we are one of the longest holdouts. But anyway, we're running out of time here. We haven't even gotten into our topic, really. I mean, well, we have. Kind of all this is related to it. But
I'd say so.
I mean, this was really your topic, Tyler. Do you want to kind of dive into any of this stuff? I have a lot of notes here that I kind of wanted to get into on stuff that affects people and like the things that come up legally. But what did you want to talk about?
So I think the thing, and it's probably more specific to a company who's probably the worst at this, and it's John Deere. John Deere tractors, and it's partially the reason why I follow this, because I worked on farms. We didn't have any John Deeres, but John Deere's very closed ecosystem. It got to a point where farmers were buying cracked software from Russia so that they could use their GPS in their tractors, because it needed a software update, and you had to pay a technician to drive 2 hours out to your field to update the software, and then pay him for his drive back. So you were putting all this money out, and these are guys who need their stuff right now. They need stock. I think one of the more recent examples I read was let's say a hose blows on your tractor. You're out in the middle of the field. You don't have time to run to the nearest dealership because John Deere's been consolidating their dealerships too. So it's not like you have a John Deere dealership in every farming community. It might be 2 hours away. But it would be like your hose goes and you need to fix it quickly, and you might have a spare hose or something that can patch you over.
Hose goes.
Yeah, I was trying not to rhyme, but it just kind of played
That's
out that
quite
way.
the
Hose blows, hose goes.
the hose goes.
Boats and hose. Boats and hose.
But they've essentially built a system that it knows what parts are in it so that something else doesn't work. So your tractor might just sit in the middle of the field, unable to do its job
So
because
messed up.
you didn't call them or you didn't drive into their
Because you
dealership.
put an unauthorized hose.
Exactly.
on your
Something
radiator.
stupid. It's probably a little bit higher.
Right,
level,
but that's a great
but
example.
that's really what it is. Like they're locking you down. And these are guys who, I mean, when we were on the farm, tractor broke. You fixed it in the field and you kept going. You had the part, or you figured out you put duct tape where you needed to,
Yeah.
so it got you through the
And
day.
you could put duct tape.
And you could, yeah, and that was the important. I mean,
Not necessarily duct tape, but you could take a wire, wrap it, put something in there temporarily, wrap it in, snug it tight, and at
just
least get through the day.
get it through, yeah. So it's
Figure
not-
it out for tomorrow.
Yeah, exactly. You'll figure it out tonight when you're done with the plowing or whatever. But that's a big thing. And John Deere, I think they own 35-40% of the market just in farming, especially out in, like, you're in Montana or out in the Midwest. You're not on a little 200-acre farm like you might find here.
Like
You got you're spanning
44,000.
states. Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, you're crossing state lines with your farm. And if you're not near a dealership, you're kind of SOL.
jeez.
But I think that's the biggest example, other than like the Apple stuff.
Now,
but
the big argument from the companies is security.
it's security. It's like our computer systems are programmed to work with these exact parts.
And we can't give you access to the parts because we got to make sure they're installed correctly, or else we can't warranty the unit.
And even if you come and get the part yourself, well then, because there was one I just read recently. Somebody they bought the part, brought it back, and it said to accept this part, you need a technician to come out and adjust it in the software for you.
Yeah.
That's like what?
Well, I like. Go ahead.
Sorry.
No, you do.
So, how comfortable are farmers working today compared to 20 years ago?
I see it.
They're cruising down in air-conditioned units.
Yeah,
And,
I mean, if you drive,
I'm asking.
Say drive around this area. Most of them are
not.
riding on tractors from the 50s.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, you're sitting on.
And these are not the same tractors they're using that have the technology, obviously.
I mean, we had.
Well, it's not even tech
what is
we're
the
talking
benefit to a farmer having something that's technology driven, that has chips and has software?
There's a lot of
to
like
Well,
the
GPS is a
the
good
GPS
example.
is a big thing. A lot of these programs will have your historical planting, because you're not going to plant corn in the same field every year. You have to rotate your crops. So one year you're going to do corn, the next year you might do soybeans in that, because you're going to deplete the nutrients from the soil.
Arugula.
Yeah, arugula, whatever.
It's a great word.
But you're going to, especially these big farms, GPS, maybe you need to know where field 244 is. You're not necessarily going to just know that off the top of your head, per se. I mean,
Well,
some
it's
of them
tough to generally where it is most likely,
But to
but
get
to
there
know
exactly.
exactly where the lines are between 244 and 246 and 249,
Yeah.
and where the line is where you want to, yeah, it's.
so I guess what really becomes
I think
the
to answer your
question.
question, the bigger part of that problem is if your old 1950s tractor is finally done, you don't have a choice.
Yeah,
If you're buying a new one, they're all the same. They're all like this.
yeah, that's where I
It's
was.
any
You
brand is like
eventually are going to get stuck through attrition dealing with this issue.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean all of them. I don't know how the other brands are in terms of their right to repair, but
Well, I know
John,
Husqvarna's gotten in trouble for the same stuff.
I just bought one of their lawnmowers too, but
I mean, I don't know if it's a problem
it
for a home user.
probably
but
is. But I mean, they're all the same. Like even because I looked at a John Deere lawnmower because I had one before, which I could easily fix and get parts for. But I don't think I could have for the new one. It was, if you need it serviced, you have to come to us. Whereas I bought the Husqvarna from the local guy, and he's like, no, here's the kit, and you need
Well,
something.
I think the big difference in Husqvarna and like a John Deere is Husqvarna allows anybody that's certified to do work.
Mm-hmm.
So all you have to do is become certified with Husqvarna. And I don't think they do the proprietary software either, do they?
I mean,
Because I know John Deere does.
they might in some of their higher end, field tractors and stuff, but
Maybe.
not on their lawnmowers, obviously.
Gotcha. Well, and that's a big one too. Is the laws that are looking to get passed. Oh, France is doing something interesting. Did you see what they're doing?
I read briefly about it, but
I'm actually, far be it for me to say anything positive about France, but they're doing and I think I have my notes here. Oh, here I actually have it. I have a page up on but the repairability index is something they're trying out, where they're actually requiring companies that manufacture to create a repairability index.
yeah.
And if you're watching, it's up on the screen. But the whole concept here is they're not going to legislate how repairable a device can be. And I remember the first time I bought a device that was unrepairable. It was a Sony Vaio laptop. And I remember opening it up and realizing every single component was soldered onto the motherboard.
Yeah.
And you couldn't even change out RAM. Everything was soldered on. It was infuriating. This is basically saying you can still make it like that.
Why can't you unsolder?
You can, but it's a
That's
lot of labor.
That's a specialized skill too. You're
Yeah.
not just gonna randomly know how to do that.
And now if you mess up, you ruin your laptop. When before it worked fine, you just wanted to do an upgrade. Now, and a lot of these newer stuff, that was 20 years ago. A lot of this newer stuff, if you remove it and solder a new chip on, it's going to recognize it and it'll shut itself down and say unauthorized, part
Yeah.
detected. Call your Sony
Unauthorized solder.
unauthorized solder. That's right. I don't know if it would say that, but that would be kind of weird.
Well, at least you'd know that's what it was.
That's what you would know. Well, I
If
think
they
you
came
know
up on the screen.
If you take it apart, clip off the metal, solder new stuff on. I think you know what it's
when you're
bitching
doing
about
all
when
your
it-
stuff. Oh, unauthorized soldering. Oh shit, man, we can't just change that thing out.
I do miss soldering though. I used to do that all the time, and now nobody lets me touch hot stuff. I think I'm too old. But I don't know. I like this because I don't like the bully government. The government that says you have to do this. Like I still feel it's John Deere's right to do what they do. But I think what's nice is educating consumers so they can find out. And if you have an index and you're just going to say, look, you can do whatever you want to do, but we're going to, based on these level of criteria that are well defined, if you do this, 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 and this, you're going to get a score of 3, and that's going to have to be listed at your retail stores on your products. And consumers are going to see that and be like, oh, whoa, hold on. Why are you a 3 out of 10? Like, should I be looking into this? And then they'll educate themselves and be like, you know what? Let me just check and see what else is out there. And then maybe they will go to Husqvarna and I'd be like, oh, well, these guys are like a 7. Like, oh, wait, I can replace my own hoses. I can do this. Okay.
Oh, you have a horrible social skill or a horrible social rating. What is that?
ESG.
Yeah,
ESG. Yeah, it is a little reminiscent
What's
of ESG.
the ESG again?
It's environmental, social, and governance.
Yeah.
So, which I absolutely think is the most horrific thing that's ever happened.
Unless, of course, you're using it in this fashion.
Well, this is an ESG. So
right?
this is
But
literally.
if you were rating companies, if companies were getting a score, social score,
companies
like this,
get scores now on serviceability and stuff like that.
Yeah.
This is just focusing specifically on the ability to do repair work. So your ability to work on your own stuff. So if Sony released a laptop, look, somebody looking at laptops at Best Buy, which you should never buy a laptop at Best Buy, but if you were, you might just be looking at, does it look the right size? Is the screen clear? And do I like the feel of the keys? That might be all you're thinking. Does it have enough RAM? Does it have a good enough processor? Right? You may not be thinking about a year and a half, 2 years from now when you need to add more RAM because Microsoft released a new operating system and now it has higher requirements and you just want to upgrade your computer. You may not be thinking about the fact that, wait, is this thing even upgradable? And then all of a sudden you come to an IT store and they're like, yeah, we can't do anything for you. You're going to have to buy a new laptop. Yep. Well, now you just got hosed because that information wasn't available. So they list all the stuff they want you to see, but they don't list the fact that you can't upgrade it. Nowhere do they write that. So all this is doing is forcing them to disclaim to the consumer for consumer education purposes that if you buy this, this is what it is. You cannot upgrade this thing. It's a brick as soon as it becomes obsolete. And I know for a fact, not everybody, but there would be a percentage of people that would take pause and be like, well, maybe I should call my cousin who's really good at computers, ask them what they think, and then their cousin's going to say, well, yeah, just if it's all things being equal, buy something that you can add RAM to. And then that would affect Sony, and it would change Sony's behavior. So this is educating consumers. I love randomly creating rules that destroy entire industries and then changing those rules on a nickel because never are they really outlined. ESG, I don't love. Like they're two very, very different things. So, but I do like this idea of educating customers.
Give you a score. Yeah, because that would definitely influence my decision to purchase something.
And that would become probably one of my primary things.
It would be, yeah.
Like if I'm looking at a GE profile and I see that it's a 4 out of 10, I'd be like, you know what? So maybe I should spend an extra $1,000 on a Gen Air.
Mm-hmm. So do companies have ratings right now based on their ability to repair?
The closest
that sounds like it could be something that should be in high demand.
Not in the U.S.
Creating a rating like that.
There's legislation out there. Biden actually just passed an executive order requiring, not a rating, requiring that there be serviceability for certain things. Do you remember what it was?
I don't remember what it was. No.
But it was very specific things. It was requiring that customers be able to service their own things in certain types of products. I personally hate executive orders across the board.
Right, but when you have companies that dominate, it's not a problem when they're a new and growing company. It's when they dominate the market and then they sit back and say, you know what we're going to do this year? We're going to make our products so that no one can fix them. So that they got to come to us.
Well, see, even then, I don't know that it's necessarily a problem because that's how you lose dominance. You piss off consumers. You give an entry point to an alternative company. And that's generally how the cycle of business happens.
Just let that
now somebody else comes up and goes, well, we're just as good as Apple, but you can open our case up and replace the battery when it goes bad. So what do you want to do?
Yeah.
But my problem is not so much that they shoot themselves in the foot. My problem is that people don't realize. So Apple changes stuff on their phones, and they don't really announce it. And all of a sudden you need all new chargers, or all of a sudden you need all new headsets, or all new headphones, and they're making it all proprietary. All of a sudden you must upgrade your operating system, or you can't upgrade your operating system. I mean, part of these new laws that are being discussed in Congress right now require them to allow you to unlock your devices.
I do like that.
There's absolutely no reason why you bought the device. There's no reason why you can't unlock it and put some other operating system.
Yeah, you're not renting it.
Yeah, you're not. You own it. Now, I do agree with the companies that if you call them for support and you've put some sort of other operating system, they won't support you.
Yes, I know.
Just be like, no. And I would say even a step further, they should be able to say, yes, but you must reinstall our operating system first. And we'll walk you through that process. Now, if you don't want to reinstall the operating system, too bad.
Too bad.
You're on your own. You put your own operating system on. I totally respect their right to make that call. But they should never have a right to tell you what you
It's
can
almost
install.
like phones and operating systems should be broken up.
Well, they are. Samsung is hardware, and Google is the operating system.
It's really just
Apple's the only one that's soup to nuts.
yeah.
Not the only one, but they are soup to nuts.
Yeah.
Like an Android is
Android is just Google.
Google.
It's a free operating
It's
system.
open source, and then Samsung takes it and makes it their own. Google uses their Pixel line, and they just use stock
Yeah,
Android. So
BlackBerry was using.
they started
They were
developing on
using
it.
that too.
Mm-hmm.
I did look
Nokia.
up after last week when we talked about Blackberries. I did look up the current Blackberries. God damn it, Jimmy, you're right. They're kind of cool.
Do they have the old
I'm telling you,
keypad?
dude.
Yeah, but they slide up, so it's like a full phone like
Yeah,
this.
plus you
and
have
then
the
you
key
slide the
underneath.
phone up, and there's a keypad underneath.
I
And then you
really
slide it back down.
missed that.
I think
that
BlackBerry's
tactile
coming
feel.
back, dude.
Ah, man, I don't know. I would have disagreed with you until I saw that phone. I was like, that's
I am so disgusted with my Android phone. I can't wait to buy
Yeah,
a
but I
BlackBerry.
think is BlackBerry running Android now?
They
Well, they
started,
they-
developing on Android.
Yeah, they develop on Android.
Yeah, they are, but it's still a very clean. It's a very clean version of Android.
Well, there are some very clean
Very
versions
clean.
out there.
When you have a BlackBerry phone, it is your phone. When I got that Android, I could tell, dude, I am like being infiltrated from every angle,
Now, which
So
Android
that's-
are you talking about?
and I don't know how to
Did you
explain
get a
it.
Samsung?
I got that. Yeah, I got this.
Oh yeah,
So-
Samsung's a controlling device.
So
Yeah.
if you really want to get an Android, you have to buy an unlocked phone directly from Google because it's stock Android, so you can make it your own, and it's unlocked, so then you're not tied
Well,
down.
now hold on. Now you've got to put some caveats because people are going to be watching this. If you do that, your carrier probably won't support a lot of your stuff. So they may not support
That is
visual
very true.
voicemail. They
Yep.
may not support Wi-Fi calling. They may not support tethering. Like buying unlocked phones has repercussions because nobody wants you to do it.
Say it's partially. I can say in my experience with Verizon, I've been able to do the Wi-Fi calling and all that stuff, and they keep asking me to put their software on, and I just say no. So it's been fine, but I bought mine directly from Google as well, so it's an approved model.
Okay.
I could buy the Verizon version, or I could buy the unlocked.
And I will say I buy mine directly from Samsung with the stripped down version of the Android software.
Yeah.
And AT&T wouldn't let me do a lot of stuff, but
Yep.
I put my own software on that did that same stuff.
I was
Because
gonna say-
there were Android apps that did it.
I remember the days where you got an Android phone, it was locked down to the carrier, and if you wanted something different and want to strip it out, you had to root and ROM.
Oh,
and
yeah.
then, that was
You don't
fun.
need half of what comes on it anyway.
No.
Like you don't even
Bloatware.
need it. It's just a bunch of fluff garbage they put in there.
Yeah, it is.
It's just like it's almost like it's like a borrowed it's like a borrowed device. Let's get back to what we were talking about. We're really sidestepping.
Root for the Freedom Phone. Freedom Phone.
Yeah.
Freedom Phone.
I haven't looked at the.
I'm gonna
phone.
march on
We talked about that way back in the day.
way back in the day, and
Like a
I'm
year
still
ago.
rooting for it. Or the Tesla phone.
Tesla's coming out with a phone.
Dude, have you seen it?
No.
Can you pull that up on the screen?
Yeah.
Like, the Tesla phone looks like, well, I mean, it looks like every other phone now because they all look the same. But it looks sweet because there's a Tesla logo on it. Which is this is totally off topic. Now this is running Tesla's own operating system, the Model Pi.
Well, I don't know that it is. Like, I think what I want is I want a phone that's not controlled by other like.
Well, that's going to be Freedom Phone. Now Tesla
Yeah.
swears part of his thing is he wants to get away from control of the big companies.
So I think we revert back to these types of phones that where you control it, you can manipulate it, fix it. Like I think that there's two. Are we not on topic with these phones?
No, we are, and this is an issue.
In
with all
some
these.
sense, I just can't. I don't have the verbiage to
And
explain to the audience.
I will
that we
say
are.
there's a trade-off here. Yeah, that's a good picture. There's a trade-off here between serviceability and features. So you can buy an Android phone that is pretty good that has a replaceable battery, but you're generally going to lose a lot of stuff. You're going to lose maybe the high-quality camera. You're going to lose the great pixel density on the screen, or the amazing touchscreen features with multi-point touch or whatever that the Samsungs give you. Like, it's all a trade-off. But I've actually been looking at going to off-brand phones for my next purchase, and going with something that has a replaceable battery that has some parts that I can mess around with, because this thing, you can't do anything with it. Nothing.
Kind of at the point where I just want to go back to my old Motorola Razr.
My brother did.
He went to like the old flip phone.
Yep.
No
He went
way.
back to an old flip. He realized, now he's a scientist,
Mm-hmm.
and he realized he would be in the lab. He's a particle physicist, and he would be in the lab, and the lab has some downtime where he's running experiments, he's waiting for him to finish whatever, and he would play games on his phone.
Yeah.
And he realized that he was losing so much time where he should be doing work, goofing off on his phone, and he finally snapped and was like, you know what, this phone is ruining my career, and he threw his phone away and went out and bought a flip phone.
Man, I didn't know you can still do that.
He's been running off a flip phone for the last year or so. He's so much happier.
I get those moments where I remember just being able to put my phone in my pocket and not ever touch it unless someone was calling me. If they were calling me, I'd just silence it. I didn't want to talk to them.
Yep.
Now it's like they'll call you and then text and then expect a response right away. And at least I could say I'm not very good at the pressing 3 times.
The thing, so I think that this technology has evolved. I believe that the core technology that we all desire is here. They're just like hiding it, trying to push it under the carpet so we don't use it.
Which core technology are you talking about?
Well, I think that, like going back to the flip phone, I think that you can even still get into a smartphone. I know because I came from a BlackBerry. And when I was using my BlackBerry, I was very content with it. It was not, there wasn't all this junk. There wasn't these people. There's constantly, I feel like there's constantly this company jumping into my phone and putting there what they want me to put. My settings are changing unannounced. Like that didn't happen when I had the BlackBerry. Like the BlackBerry stopped working. It would work slow, but my BlackBerry always felt secure. It always felt like, it was a solid device, like a freaking old John Deere tractor with no crap on it.
So I think it's just a matter of perspective, right? So how much do you use your phone now? Like me, my phone, I don't go to a computer really ever at home. I'm never on a computer because I can just use my phone for it. So there's different things to consider too, like Blackberries. I remember my BlackBerry back, what was that, 2012, around then? I couldn't do anything other really than call and just have a formidable text and maybe send an email or two. But now you can browse, you can download, you can do all sorts of stuff. So there are security things to take into consideration there too. So if there's an unpatched software.
But I've been able to do that with my old my Key One BlackBerry. Which,
See, I didn't get too far. I had
a BlackBerry, just a Key One BlackBerry, which was a smartphone.
See, I never feel the way you feel. I run a Samsung also, and I never feel that intruded upon. Now, granted, I run a VPN all the time, and I run DuckDuckGo as my browser, and I've got a lot of my own apps that I run for everything. Even my visual voicemail is my own app. I don't use the AT&T visual voicemail, but I've never felt that way with my Android. So I'm wondering if part of it too could be a comfort level issue. Like you felt like there was a trust level there with BlackBerry, and you just because you never really trusted your Samsung.
No, well, because
and I don't blame you.
Just
I'm not saying you should.
only say because of how my old phone operated. My old phone seemed like a computer that was like not connected to the internet. And then when I got this phone, it was like, what is going on here? What are all these apps on here? Like I don't even want them. I can't get rid of them. I have 30 apps on this phone that I can't even get rid of.
You can hide them.
I would say I think you're at a I hit that point at one time, and that's where I learned to root and ROM, where I could just get root access, delete all the bloatware, freeze it at least, and hide it from the system. So I got rid of all the AT&T apps, all the Samsung apps.
That's what I do. I don't delete it, but I freeze it.
I used to freeze
so,
it. Now
if I had the ability to do that, then I could get to a point where.
Well, then what Tyler said.
But I don't think the original operating system of BlackBerry, I think, was not that. It was a very scaled down version where it was just apps. There was not all that junk in there, and it was just a solid operating phone.
If you get a phone that is the core Android, not a carrier version of Android, not a manufacturer version of Android, not even a Google, jacked up version of Android, just core Android, I think you'd be happy.
You would absolutely be happier. Like My first foray into stock Android was with the Nexus series, which was Google's developer series of phones. So they gave you the access to root it, they gave you the access to ROM it and stuff, but they just put stock Android. And once I moved to that, like I've bought a Google branded phone ever since. That's probably 10 years now, just because I can't. My wife had a Motorola, and even they're closer to stock than most of these other brands, and hers still felt too bloated for my use, like too custom. I don't know.
Yeah, as long as, and I think also, I don't think you can't get a warranty on the ones that come stock from your carrier, and usually the manufacturer won't really give you a warranty. They might give you like a little bit of a warranty, but so know that you're not going to get a warranty on it either. Like
That's fine by me.
Yeah, but I don't care either.
Really,
I buy mine the same way. Now, I don't buy it completely stripped down. I buy the Samsung version.
Yeah.
But all that is the stripped down version with the Samsung account tools.
Yeah.
Which I don't care because I don't enable them, and they're not active unless you enable them.
Right.
So they just sit on the phone. But none of the AT&T crap is on mine. None of the Google junk is on there. Not all of those apps. Mine came with 7 apps.
Yeah.
7 or 8, like 3 of them from Samsung, and then the rest were like Chrome stuff that comes so that it works, because you have to have a browser in order for it to function. A clock,
Yeah, like the
basic
basic
stuff.
system maps.
Yeah. So maybe that's what you want to do.
Well, I feel like I'm straying us slightly outside of what
You've
we're
ruined
topic,
the entire show.
But I don't want to keep us in the outskirts.
Well, no, we'll talk about this off camera, but I think your points are all valid. Like, you're not.
I mean, I still feel like it's on topic, because even though people think like right to repair, it's like it's still kind of the same with phones.
Well, it is on topic.
Like there is a right to
part of the legislation is the allowing of the unlocking.
Yeah.
So what you're asking for is something that they're trying to mandate, is you have to allow them to unlock the
like,
phones,
just give me the phone, I'll figure everything else out.
or allow me to just allow me to format.
I
my
don't
phone,
need your
install whatever
stuff.
version of Android
I don't
want.
need all your stuff. I don't need all your mandatory programs. I just need the phone, and then I'll decide if I want what you have to offer.
Well, and the funny part is they've done studies on this, and I think that the big one, the most famous one, is Microsoft Surface. So they actually had a bunch of engineers go through, ex-Microsoft engineers, and go through and redesign the Surface so it's completely serviceable, and it did not change the form or functionality one bit. They're like, no, and they're like, how did you figure that out? And they're like, oh, because we'd already seen it, because Microsoft originally designed it that way and then closed everything off and made it unserviceable because they don't want you messing with it. So these companies know what they're doing. They're doing it all intentionally. Like they're doing that intentionally.
Yeah.
So that's what all of this right to repair is taking away their power to restrict you from having control.
I'm not smart enough to tell you exactly what's happening, but I'm smart enough to know
If it helps, I'm not smart enough to answer.
that something is like there's something going on out of my control here.
I'm just gonna say you sound like my grandmother.
Maybe I'm just a
The hackers are in my phone.
Yeah, taking my stuff.
Craig, the hackers are in there. Yeah.
They want something from me.
Grandma, Yahoo's the name of your mail.
Housekeeping.
It's not a person from, always some, whatever the most racist country you can think. That's the country she says.
They're after me.
A guy named Yahoo from Yemen is in my phone. I'm like, I don't know where you came up with Yemen. I'm actually a little surprised you even know that country
It's the
exists.
Russians. They want my stuff.
No. She's 96. It's always a slightly veiled racist comment. She doesn't mean it racist, but I have a hard time telling her it's 2022 and now that's racist. So it's always a fun conversation to have with Grandma.
All right, back to the Tesla phone.
So, no, I want this. I want that Tesla phone. That thing, I don't know. Look, you guys know.
Well, what
I've got a bit of a
operating
man
system
crush.
is he using? He's making his
He's
own?
making his own. He's making his own because he wants to get away from all the bloatware and spyware and all that stuff. He's trying to strip it down and make it performance-based and give you control. So, I don't know. I've got a man crush on Elon Musk. So, if anybody's going to do it, this is going to be the guy. So, now I still believe in the Freedom Phone, but that's been in process for years, and we still haven't seen it really come to fruition the way I'd like. So.
They're gonna have a lot of challenges.
I can't believe
with
one
that.
of these companies
Freedom
hasn't
Phone,
taken
I
Freedom Phone will. Well, he's got the financial
Accessibility.
backing and the network
Yeah.
to make this happen.
It's very Androidish. I'm wondering if he's not using Android source code.
He might actually be using the core Android
like
platform
just using their
and
kernel
then
and
creating
stuff.
a custom version. Which, why wouldn't he? It's free.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't blame
it's
him.
there.
And then he doesn't have to recreate the App Store. He can lean on the Android App Store.
Yeah.
So I don't really blame him there. I would not be surprised also if this is a foray into him becoming a telecom company. because once he's got Starlink up, you could absolutely basically use that as a backbone, as a satellite backbone for a terrestrial cellular network.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, Tesla's competing with Amazon and Verizon and T-Mobile and all those guys. And considering T-Mobile might be the worst experience any human being will ever have with a cell phone, he's already got one beat.
It's so cheap, though. Like,
It's so cheap.
$2 for unlimited data for life.
I know it's half the cost, which is probably why when I talk to my father who uses T-Mobile, I can only hear half the words. Yeah. Like I have to piece together the conversation from his inferred meaning because I can't hear all the words because it just cuts out constantly. I'm like, "Are you driving through tunnels?" He's like, "No, I'm in my family room."
It's like the old landlines where you pick up somebody else's conversation.
Yes.
Hey, Becky, why are you on the line?
Damn it, Adam, hang up. I'm on the phone. Yeah. Did you remember that being kids?
Yes.
There's always one person in the house that would try to quietly pick up another phone in the house and like listen to your conversation. You always knew.
You could hear the click.
They
try so hard.
The slow click, but
Get
you
off.
It's like you always knew who it was. It's like, damn it, Steven.
Yeah, like if you just pick it up. It would be more of like, hey, what was that? That wasn't like normal.
You
It
knew.
didn't sound like somebody sneaking.
You knew because you were awkwardly not talking to a girl at the time. While two of you were on the phone together, and every once in a while she went, "Have you heard this song?" And then she'd play the song for you, and you were happy because you didn't have to talk for that 3 minutes. Like that's what being a teenager in the early 90s was. It was wanting to be on the phone with a girl, but not really having anything to say. Not a flipping word. But for some reason, nobody was allowed to hang up. Do you remember that? Like, I don't know. Maybe you didn't experience that, but I can remember sitting on the phone with girls for like an hour trying to figure out how to get off the phone.
I feel like we had some of that, but I came around in the AIM generation where you just have instant message chats.
They didn't have that.
You put up a
My wife
catchy
said
away
to me
message.
one time, she said to me, "Yeah, you were always like, we could have conversation. Like that was the difference between me and the guy she didn't pick."
The guy she didn't pick.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I'm not so sure I could say
Like, were
that.
you top of the list, or were you just the other guys just kind of fell
No,
off
I
the
always
list?
had fun talking to her. I actually enjoyed talking to my wife.
Oh, I love talking to my wife.
I had.
Well, no, this was when I was
like-
14 and I was only on the phone with a girl because
Well, I've
it was
been
a girl
dating-
who was willing to have a phone call with me. Like I would have talked on that phone with a parrot if it was an attractive enough parrot that would impress my buddies.
Well, I've
Like,
been
I was-
dating
it was
my
just
wife
getting
since
the
I'm
girl on
15.
the phone was the accomplishment. The conversation was ancillary. Like
I was dating my wife since I'm 15.
Oh yeah, see, you guys are both like high school sweetheart dudes. Like, no, I was still out there being an absolute worst gamer of all time. like, I didn't meet my wife till I was 21. So
That's a good age.
A
still.
lot of years of awkward conversations I experienced until I reached "don't gives a crap," and then I just didn't give a crap.
Yeah, I wish
I
had
just
more of that
decided today. I just don't care if you like what I say.
That's why we have a podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it helps. All right. Well, you know what, guys? Honestly, we didn't really even talk about right to repair.
Not each way shape or
Talked a
form.
lot about how shitty T-Mobile is and how GE lets us down.
Football.
regularly. John Deere runs like a John, smells like a deer.
It was just kind of a edge session.
I don't know. I remember that joke from when I was a kid. We talked about Tom Brady.
That's a farm joke.
Talked about the goat. I don't know. I wasn't a farmer.
It's got to be a farm joke.
I just remember
Tyler, you're a farmer.
I don't even remember where I heard that joke. I was just
Which one was it?
John Deere runs like a deer. No, runs like a John, smells like a deer. I think it was some old dude said it to me once, and I remember being
That's
like,
definitely-
I don't get it, but everybody else
Yeah.
laughed,
And,
so I laughed too. And then I was like, I have to figure out why I was supposed to laugh.
Yeah.
And then I spent the last 30. I still don't get it, but now I
just
say
keep
it.
telling it. Yeah.
So now other kids are like, why is that funny?
Yeah, you're just like passing on the.
See, you don't get it either though, but you laughed.
yeah, I don't.
That's the
yeah.
worst.
He was probably an Alice Chalmers guy.
I even think he was drunk.
Yeah. Oh, that too.
I'm 100% sure. he was.
There's actually like a couple different ways you could, that means. There's like,
I always assumed it was Hooker Jones, and then the smells like a deer. I couldn't.
it's kind of like you could.
I think their tagline was like, "It runs like a deer."
It's like you could place your own
Reliable,
meaning with
just
that
going
one.
So maybe it was just some idiot old guy who was like, well, must smell like a John then. I don't
Smell like a John? Like
I
a
don't-
used
Oh,
John?
smells like a John, runs like a deer.
Oh.
That makes more sense. Maybe that's what he said. It's
Yeah,
been like 35
yeah,
years.
because
What
deers
do I know?
run. Because deers run and
Deers
Johns
do run.
and John smell.
Yeah, Porta Johns.
Yeah.
Yeah, not the guys who bang hookers.
Oh, the porta johns.
I might have messed this whole joke
That's a
up.
whole nother,
35 years.
I
and
never
this
even
podcast
thought of.
got me there.
I never even thought of porta johns. That's a whole. That puts a whole nother
Well, look,
spin
if
in
there's
my
a
head.
hooker angle, why would I go to another angle?
I-
That's the,
We're gonna have to figure this out.
maybe that's the topic. for
I think
next
we're
week.
gonna have to find somebody.
the John Deere joke.
We're gonna have to bring in some farmers and interview them.
They would never come on this show. Not any self-respecting farmer. I mean, maybe a Tyler.
Sir,
Self-respecting. There, so we're good.
pardon me, sir. You mind stepping out of the field for a second?
Do you have anything else to say about our actual topic?
That's it.
That's. Do you have anything else to say?
No, I have nothing else to say.
I don't have anything else to say. I'm actually looking through here. It wasn't that good to begin with. You people didn't miss anything.
No.
There is, for what it's worth, put it in the description. SecureRepairs.org. Secu Repair. I'll give it to you.
Okay.
But there is some stuff going on in the U.S. right now. I think it's going to be kind of cool. So I think this. The Magnuson Moss Warranty Federal Trade Commission. I want to bring this up because I think people will care about this. So that warranty void sticker, you ever see that?
Yeah.
Like if you cut this sticker, you void the warranty.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's illegal.
Yeah,
Legal.
I always.
What for
I
them
forget
to
when I
do
read-
that,
Yeah.
or for you to
like
cut
it-
the sticker?
No, this Magnuson Moss Warranty Federal Trade Commission Improvements Act actually. Yeah, I put a link in there for this.
Yeah.
There's so it's not in this, but if you go into the full act, you can't tell people that they can't touch their own device.
I forget when I learned that because I used to always stop at those stickers and then I read somewhere about it and I was like, oh, cool, I can just keep going and I'm still good.
It's illegal for them to void your warranty if you do it, but it's still
you cut a
legal for them
tag
to
off?
put the sticker on.
Yeah, well, that's
So it's legal for them to lie to you, but not legal for them to enforce the lie. Is that what we're doing?
No,
because
no.
most people would do like I initially did, like, well, then I guess I better not, just in case.
Yep.
No, you have to read between the lines on that one. Hey, we're selling you a piece of shit, so if you cut this sticker off, we're going to void the warranty. That's how we're going to cover our ass.
I'm going to say 100%. Nobody says the term piece of shit better than Jimmy.
I was gonna say that was pretty good.
He says it with such passion and fervor, and he really, really enunciates the shit. Like he puts it in with like an accent. Like it becomes like a North Carolina Southerner, like piece of shit.
It's like throwing a punch. Shh. You know what I mean? Shit.
No, I felt it. Like
know,
your
yeah.
piece of shit hit me right here in the chin.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
it's like getting. All right, that's enough.
yeah.
It's enough. It's enough.
It's enough. I had enough.
Jimmy,
Enough of this.
great show. T, thank you. If you're still here, I love you.
Hopefully you remember who we are.
Peace out.
The Broken Agenda Podcast. Sponsored by Laughing Rock Technology.